And there, Titans Talk on your television. Steve Layman here with you. Glad you are here with us on this Monday, a day after a Titans loss yet again. This time in Denver, a game a lot of people thought the Titans could go in and win. Instead, it opens up a whole bunch more questions about where this team is. We will open up the phones right away to get your input, your questions, your thoughts, your beliefs about this team right now after a 16-0 loss yesterday to the Denver Broncos. A team, by the way, that previously had just one win on the season the week before in Los Angeles against the Chargers, but yesterday looked like a dominant team on the field against Tennessee. Our phone lines are now open. 737-7767, the number. If you want to call in your thoughts on what was the debacle offensively yesterday. Obviously, no points for the offense yet again. Marcus Mariota with arguably his worst game as a pro. He was benched in the third quarter after just 7 completions for 63 yards, replaced by Ryan Tannehill, who came in, moved the team a little bit better. He completed 13 of 16 passes, but he also turned the ball over. In fact, he had the most negative plays of any quarterback in the NFL here in Week 6, and he only played for a quarter and like 3 minutes. Think about that for a second. Sacks, turnovers, those are the negative plays they track for quarterbacks. And Ryan Tannehill had more of those in just over 15 minutes of football than any other quarterback in the league had this week, including Mariota, who was so bad they benched him. So that was your quarterback situation yesterday at Empower Field at Mile High. The defense, once again, did its job. The Titans allow 16 points. One of those set up by the short field on Mariota's interception. Another one set up on a short field by a huge punt return to start the game by Deontay Spencer. Other than that, you're talking about 2 field goals throughout the course of the game. Both set up by big plays, which the defense would love to eliminate. But look, the guys on the other side get paid too. They're going to make plays from time to time, but this defense is incredible in the red zone, and it continues to put up numbers that should win games. The Titans for the season are giving up 15 points per game. That is going to be number 1 or number 2 in the league if it keeps up for the entire course of the season. You have the defensive effort like that, and a punter, by the way, in Brett Kern, who still is the best in football. 47 yards a punt yesterday on 9 kicks. He put 8 of them inside the 20-yard line. He was phenomenal. Backed up most of the day, punted the Titans out of trouble, gave the defense an opportunity to do their job a lot. When you have a defense playing as well as the Titans' defense is playing, and you have a punter in Brett Kern who is the best in the league, the combination of which is allowing opponents to only score basically 15 points a game, you would have to have an unimaginably bad offense to not be winning. And guess what? The Titans are not winning. They are 2-4 right now, and they're wasting what they're getting from this defense and Brett Kern. And honestly, as I sit here, I don't know what the root cause is. So call in with your thoughts on that, because Marcus Mariota is a better quarterback than what he showed yesterday. Now, is he ultimately the quarterback for the Titans? I don't know. I think more and more the evidence points to the fact that he's not going to be here long term. In fact, yesterday might have been the end of the Mariota era. But it's not just the quarterback. Derrick Henry isn't rushing the way he did at the end of last season. So then you point at the offensive line. They've got $150 million invested in this offensive line. They went out and got Roger Saffold. They paid Taylor Lewan big money. They re-signed Ben Jones this summer. They drafted Nate Davis to move in at right tackle. Jack Conklin's obviously a first-round pick. There's a heavy investment in draft picks and dollars to this offensive line. If anything, it's worse than it was a year ago, which was worse than it was 2 years ago, which was worse than it was 3 years ago. That spans 2 head coaches and 2 offensive line coaches and 3 offensive coordinators. Why is that happening? Why is it getting worse and not better with all of the investment? What's the root problem there? Are they just wildly overvalued by the Titans and not nearly as good of players as they thought? Is it the system? Is it the fact that they moved to the zone running scheme a couple years ago? That doesn't explain the pass blocking issues. I mean, it is a real mystifying thing to try to understand why the Titans offensive line, which 3 years ago was arguably the best in the entire football league, has made financial and draft pick moves, and all of a sudden, they're worse and getting worse. And then you talk about all the weapons at wide receiver or tight end, Delanie Walker and those guys. They've got no shot to make an impact right now because the Titans can't extend drives. They can't get going in the running game. They're behind the chains. And the quarterback play is abysmal because the offensive line is abysmal. So I don't even really know, as you start to evaluate, like, is Corey Davis any good as a number 1 wide receiver? I mean, statistically, he doesn't look like it. But do we actually know? Because the Titans can't run offense, can't extend drives, and the quarterback doesn't have enough time or the ability to get the ball out to him. So do we actually know if Corey Davis is any good? Is Delanie Walker completely back, or do we know? Is Adam Humphries a good free agent signing, or do we know? I mean, that's the question about all these guys on the outside. The offensive line, and this Titans offense as a whole, is so screwed up right now that it is impossible, I think, to truly get a finger on what the root problem is with everything, with the quarterback, with the running back, with the offensive line, with the receivers, with the passing game, all of it. It is impossible to get down to one singular problem. It is all going haywire. It is all broken right now. And to me, that is why this is a real crossroads, not just for this season. They are 2-4, and they better start winning, or this season is going to get late very quickly. But for the direction of the franchise, I mean, this was moving in a direction under Mike Vrabel where people thought at the beginning of this year that they were heading into contender status, whatever that might mean. They are going in the opposite direction right now, and you can ask questions about everybody in the building except for Kern and except for the defense. So we want to do that tonight on the program. 737-7767, the number. We begin with LD. LD, thanks for the call, my man. What's going on?
Hey, Steve, I want them out, Steve. I want them out of my city. I don't want them playing football in my city. I want this team demolished, destroyed, and sent away from here. We do not deserve this type of franchise. We don't deserve this type of listing for people to run down there, associate themselves with losing football on the Valley of Change. We're talking about football. We're talking about strength. We're talking about weightlifting. We're talking about equipment. We're talking about all these things that we are supposed to be rooting for, and they furnish for us to watch. And in the midst of it, you have a game that you're supposed to take away from a Denver Bronco be took right away from you, and in a certain fashion, where you have to sit back and watch every play that you're supposed to dominate on. There's somebody there in a Denver Bronco uniform. Every play that you're supposed to make a first down on, there's someone right there in a Denver Bronco uniform. If anyone has played football and had that type of game, that's the game that you're most frustrated about, because you have no choice in the matter but to think you're going to win. And that's the kind of fans that they're creating. I want them gone. I'm not a think I want to win type of guy. I want to win. I have no time to think if I'm going to win, especially when they talk about how hard it is to win in national football, how tough it is to win a game. We have no time to think. It takes getting it done.
All right, LD, you're normally pretty positive, but you're out on them tonight, and I understand why, because it was a dismal performance yesterday, at least on the offensive side of the ball. And if you're the Titans sitting here at 2-4, here's the other problem with that. Think of the games they've lost. The Broncos are 2-4. The Jaguars are 2-4. They're just not very good. And maybe you look at the games that they've won even. The Browns are 2-4 and a huge disappointment in their own right. And the Falcons, I mean, if it's not for Washington, the dumpster fire that team is, and the Dolphins completely tanking, I think you can make an argument that the Falcons are the worst team in the league right now. And that's what the Titans went down and beat, as they should have a few weeks ago. But they probably should have gone to Jacksonville and Denver based off of personnel. Frankly, they probably have better personnel than what you see with Buffalo right now. But they didn't win any of those games. And I think it's fair to ask why. All right, back to the phones we go. This is Larry. Larry, what's going on?
I'd like to know who's doing all the play calling. This guy going play calling for the whole daggone year. He's been notorious. It has been awful. Why don't they get somebody that can call the plays? Maybe the quarterback would have a better chance. But the quarterback needs some protection. They're giving him no daggone protection this year. None.
Yeah, no question about it, Larry. The Titans have given up 29 sacks now after 7. That is the most in the National Football League by a considerable margin. The next two teams, the Jets and the Bucs, have both been sacked 25 times. The Titans have 4 more than that at this point. Arthur Smith is the offensive coordinator. He's a new offensive coordinator this year. He had never called plays in the National Football League before, and it is absolutely fair to criticize him for this offense's inability to get going at this point. He has to come up with the goods at some point because there is too much talent on this offense for them to score 7 points in 10 quarters. That's what they've done. And if you take away a first half in Atlanta where they put up 24 on the Falcons in that first half and actually looked like they got it going, think about this. It is 7 points in a loss in Jacksonville, shut out in the second half in Atlanta in a game that you were up big and cruised to the finish line in. 7 points in a loss to Buffalo, and then shut out for the entire game with a quarterback change against Denver. That is not going to get it done. 14 points in 3 losses, the last 3 losses that they've had. You just cannot win that way. Go to line 3, say hello to Glenn. Glenn, good evening.
Hey, thank you very much. Listen, my comment tonight is that the offensive line, we have an A team. When they play great, we win. And then when they play like a B team, obviously we lose. To me, it's those 5 guys. We've paid them the money. They've got to show up every week, every game, and play to their potential. When they do their work, it's obviously we can win. We got a great running back. He couldn't even get past the line of scrimmage. So, and it had both quarterbacks in, and they couldn't move the ball.
Yep.
So, take care of the line. The line takes care of the team. Real simple. Real simple. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think there's no question, Glenn, that football at any level starts in the trenches, up front, offensive and defensive line. And guess what? When the Titans made their big move from being the worst team in the league a couple years in 2014 and 2015 when they went 5-27 over those 2 years, when they made the big jump the next year, 9-7, with Mike Mularkey as head coach full-time and John Robinson as the general manager, it was done by being good in the trenches. That was their whole point. It was, how do we protect this young quarterback, Marcus Mariota, and not get him killed? And let's be good on the defensive side of the ball around Jarrell Casey and all that. That's how they got good overnight in this league. Yet somehow it has regressed from that, at least on the offensive side of the ball, with some of the same guys. I mean, Taylor Lewan's been a Pro Bowler. Jack Conklin was an All-Pro that year. Ben Jones has been a solid player in the league. Roger Saffold got paid $60 million because he's been Roger Saffold for a decade in this league and been really good. Where is that right now? And that's the thing I don't understand is you're telling me overnight that Taylor Lewan's no good anymore? Or that Roger Saffold's the better example because he's been there all 6 games. But you're telling me that Roger Saffold's no good just because he put a Titans uniform on? That, to me, is the part that is just really difficult to understand with this team right now. Go to line 1. Say what's up to Mitch. Mitch, how are you?
Hey, how you doing tonight, Steve?
Doing great. Thanks for the call.
Well, let's get into Taylor Lewan, since that's what you've been talking about.
Sure.
That's the whole reason the offensive line ain't doing nothing. You know, you missed 4 games because you're the highest paid dude in the league on the offense of all the NFL, but you're too stupid to put something in your body that's going to kick you off for the first month of the season. Then you come back, and the first play that you play for us is a holding penalty that puts Delaney Walker's 27-yard first at the beginning of the game, which could have maybe got us some momentum going in the game. But no, there you are, boom, you did that. Should have benched him. Coach should have benched him right then, because he was good for 4 penalties last week against Buffalo. He was good on the 6th play of this game to get another penalty. And he had 4, maybe 3 or 4 this week. But he's not up to speed because he hadn't been playing football. So 6 weeks, he needs to get his AASSS together this week and get on a roll. Because he's the reason our offense is not going. And if you don't believe it, that's it. That's where we're standing.
Yeah, Mitch, I think that's totally fair criticism of Taylor Lewan because he wasn't there for the first 4 weeks. It's hard to get camaraderie and momentum going as a unit when the best member of the unit isn't there. I think that's completely fair criticism. I think Taylor's probably pressing a bit right now as evidenced by some of the penalties, especially the pre-snap penalties, the false starts and such, because he knows that he was the missing piece of a unit that's underperforming and that he has to come back and lead them out of that darkness and to a place that's acceptable to get this offense going. I think he understands all of that. The thing I still don't get, though, is Taylor Lewan shouldn't matter for Roger Saffold. And Roger Saffold's been bad whether Dennis Kelly was at left tackle or whether Taylor Lewan was at left tackle. Nate Davis, the right guard position, has been a mess. They're trying to figure that out still. And I don't think Jack Conklin, I think he's actually gotten worse as the season has gone on. I don't think he's been awful, but I think he's struggled more and more as the season's gone on. It's just difficult to figure out why all the individual pieces are struggling. And that's the other thing. When the Titans had that big jump, now 4 seasons ago, in 2016, just about every player on the team, as you looked at them, had for them career years. That's how you play well. Right now, who on the offense is having anything close to an average year? Everybody is underperforming what their typical career looks like. That is how you have an abysmal offense, and that's what we're seeing right now. Go to Rodney. Rodney, what's going on tonight?
All right, not much. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for the call.
Like I said, I'm a Titans fan. And I've been a Titans fan, with when Steve McNair and all them. So, and every team, they have their off season. And I think, the Titans, they got the players stuff, to have a winning team. And once they figure out what they're doing and get everything straightened out, they'll get on the right track. But you can't doubt them just because they have they lose a couple games.
Yeah.
But that's like if New England lost 3 or 4 games, they wouldn't want to get rid of Tom Brady.
Well, Rodney, there's a huge difference, and I appreciate the call. Huge difference between the Patriots that have done this and won over and over and over and have all the Super Bowl trophies hanging up there at Gillette Stadium and the banners and things like that for all the parades they've had. If they lose a couple games, you're right. Most people aren't going to throw out the baby with the bathwater in New England because they've seen that team win before. This is a Titans team that did everything in the offseason to say that this roster is better. We've won 9 games the past 3 years. We are going good to great this season. That's what they kept telling us. The hype was there. They go to Cleveland and win by 30 in week 1. Just improve the hype. Everybody's talking about them. Everybody thinks they are going all the way. And then they come back and do this. And now it's 6 weeks. Now they're 2-4. They can't score on offense. They are wasting a legitimately great defense on the other side of the ball right now. Yeah, there's time to come back. There's 10 games left in the season. We saw it last year when Houston won the final 10 and won the AFC South. It's possible to turn it around. But they better start now because time is absolutely running out on this season. Hello, Nancy Ann. Good evening. Thanks for the call tonight.
Hello, and how are you?
Doing great. Thank you.
You know, all these guys that are calling up, they're all coaches, every one of them. They all got something to say about the Titans. And I think, I watched the game on Sunday. I'm 78 years old, and that's what I do, watch the games. And I knew already when the Titans won their first game, that was it. Season's back over. But you know what? If they let that coach do his job, stay off the channel 2 at 6:30, then talk to people about the team, and just let him do his job, he'll fall in place. Have faith in the Titans. Don't give them up. Let them guys do their job and leave it alone. They got pressure from you guys, from the media, from the people in Tennessee. Let them alone. Just let them play the game. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for the call, Nancy Ann. Appreciate that perspective. Well, look, they're going to get criticized when they have games like yesterday. They're going to criticize themselves when they have games like yesterday because they're paid a lot of money. And they believed that this was the year that they take things to the next level, and they just haven't done it so far. They've got to be better than that, and they certainly understand that. Let's take a couple more in here. Let's go to Ryan. Ryan, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
So, I guess here's my comment. And I've been to a couple of the Titans games this year and heard chatter around the stadium when we aren't doing well and stuff like that. But I think the issue is camaraderie. You had brought it up before. And I think that the O-line, you know, you mentioned all those players, and there's $150 million in that line, but they're all playing like for themselves, if that makes sense. And I think if we can get them to work together, I think we have a killer team. You know, if we can buy Mariota more than 2.5 seconds in the pocket, I think that they have a really good chance of being an awesome team.
Well, that's got to be the hope right now, Ryan. There's no question about it because it all starts up front with the offensive line. You got to get Derrick Henry going. I think he's ball pretty well this year. He's just getting hit half the time behind the line of scrimmage. And I don't care who you are. You're not going to be effective as a running back doing that. And if you can't run the ball, then you're going to play behind the chains. And then you put a lot of pressure on the quarterback and on the passing game to try and get things done. And if it's 3rd and 12 or 3rd and 15, nobody, not even Tom Brady or Drew Brees, are going to be effective very often facing those types of passing situations. And that's what the Titans have been in simply too much this year. Say hello to John. John, good evening.
Yeah, I'm a diehard Titan fan, man. And I've been hearing everybody criticize the same things that they're saying. And pretty much everybody hits the nail on the head. But I want to say that I am a Nashville. I love my team. I love my city. And if any of the Titans players and the coaches are listening, we love you guys and support you guys. And we want better because we know you guys are better. That's all I have to say.
All right, John. Good stuff. I think a lot of people out there just think that. This is the Tennessee Titans. This is Nashville's team. This is Tennessee's team. And you want what's good for them. And I think, honestly, for a lot of people, it was sad and hard to watch yesterday with Marcus Mariota. Not because it wasn't a decision that needed to be made or had to be made in the second half yesterday. I think they did need to move on to Ryan Tannehill at that point and maybe need to do it permanently. But for a lot of people who've watched him ever since he's been drafted here, he's been a model citizen. He's as humble as a star quarterback in the National Football League, or a franchise quarterback, if you'd prefer that term in this case, can possibly be. He's unassuming. He is just really nice to everyone that comes across him. He signs autographs longer than should ever be expected. He's just a guy that you want to root for. That doesn't mean he's the best quarterback in the league, but he's just a guy that I think most Titans fans wanted to succeed because he was just a good guy. And you want the good guys to have good careers. And I think what was really hard yesterday is it was the realization, whether he gets to start again this week or again this season, it is really difficult right now to see a scenario where Marcus Mariota gets paid to come back to be the quarterback here, which means ultimately the experiment of drafting him second overall and trying to make him the franchise quarterback is pretty much over for all intents and purposes. And for all the people who are rooting for the good guy to succeed, yesterday was kind of, if not the end, at least the beginning of the end of believing that that is possible. And I think that's what was hard for a lot of Titans fans to watch yesterday. All right, we got to get a break. We have some callers here. Chris, Dennis, Todd. We will get to you. Others, hang on. We're going to get to a lot of phone calls tonight. 737-7767, the number. Back with more Titans talk after this.